Okay, I hope this comes out right. I've been stumbling over my words all convention. When you're working on Transformers, you're working with characters that have been around for decades that are quite beloved by people, and people expect them to act a certain way. Do you find it easier to work with characters who have already been established like that, or harder because you're stuck within a certain set of parameters?
I'll let you field that first.
Okay. Well, it's the latter for me. I mean, I deliberately, when assembling the car, I mean, I was given quite a large degree of freedom, which was appreciated, and I know isn't always the case with these things. But I was given a degree of freedom to assemble the cast for More Than Meets the Eye. It was a space quest. You know, you're looking for the crew of a spaceship. The only real conditions, if you like, the only things that have been established at the outset was that Rodimus would be there as captain, Drift was going to be on board, and those are the only two characters. Now, the rest of that cast I could create, or I could pick and choose as I wanted. And because of the stories I wanted to tell and the way I wanted to reveal gradually the backstories to these characters, I gravitated towards sort of the untouched Transformers out there, the B, C, and D listers. That there's some name recognition, perhaps, and they maybe in most cases they'd come out as a toy over the first 6, 7, 8 years of G1, but beyond that they were very much a blank canvas. There were certain characters whose function, was already established, and that sort of led to them getting a place on the crew. But and there were some original characters like Rung, who was the ship's psychiatrist. There wasn't a Transformer psychiatrist at that point, so we created one. But no, I mean the first season of More Than Meets the Eye, because that's the terminology we appropriated from TV, because it just sort of it caps the longer story arcs nicely. But in the first season, it was about readers exploring with the crew, actually, who had been forced together in a sense, exploring each other's histories and motivations. And so it's important to me to have characters where the last 15 years story-wise hadn't been already chronicled, and there were gaps in their history that we could or entirely blank histories that we could fill in as we wanted as we went along. So it gave me more freedom to tell stories than if I'd had, Wheeljack, Jazz, Prowl, Bumblebee, and so on board. What about you?
I find there are advantages to both, and writing for X-Men, you're writing for characters who've been around for 30, 40, 50 years, and they're very, very rich, they're very, very established, and there's always something new to explore with these characters, particularly when you pair them up in new and interesting ways. And there's also a lot to be said for having characters who, as you say, are blank canvas, where you get to define the characters yourself and explore the characters yourself pretty much from scratch. So there are advantages to both of them. It's always fun to kind of mix them. So if you have characters who are well known and beloved, and you have characters next to them who are new, then you get to have the best of both worlds, because you have these characters that everybody knows and loves, and yet there's a whole new spin on them because they're next to people who are new. I created a character for X-Men Evolution named Spike, and he was introduced as Storm's nephew. So you have Storm, who's been around for 30 years, and suddenly you're getting this whole new dynamic with her, because we've never seen her with a relative before, particularly a younger relative who may or may not be open to listening to her. So there are benefits and drawbacks to each of them, but actually, no matter what, it's all an opportunity.
I think well, it depends who you speak to, but I mean, because there's various continuities and various iterations of the Transformers story, and that's only going to get, that's only going to continue. That's going to continue to be the case as we enter the next 30 years. But there's been so many versions of the story that and so many names that have been recycled actually. So you get there's like 8 different Prowls from different continuities, and sometimes, I mean, with the like Optimus Prime, they've fundamentally got the same personality, and that sort of carries across all the various iterations. Sometimes the personalities differ, and I think that's created a situation where fans are generally quite forgiving, not always, generally quite forgiving if, let's say, it's the first time that Sideswipe or Brawn has appeared in the IDW continuity. Maybe that's a bad example, but I think you've got some freedom to maybe deviate a little bit from, say, how that character was in the Generation 1 cartoon, and not in all cases. And yes, it's true. Some people will take against the fact that this Brawn is different to the Brawn they knew of old. But generally, I think people appreciate that it's a different continuity. There's some scope to put a slightly different take on a character, and that's happened actually with Ratchet. The Ratchet in the IDW. In fact, that's even happened with Ratchet within the IDW universe. He's where he started off in 2005. It's not necessarily where he is now, and some of that can be chalked up to the impact of that events have had on him. But he's sort of an older, more crotchety character than he was at the beginning.